Hello. Now that we've done employee creation, equipment creation, we're gonna go to the vendor, which is the other part of our cost capture in every project that we have. So we're gonna click on vendor, and we can see add a vendor. As you can see here, you're gonna have a list of all the vendors for your client. So we're gonna add a vendor by clicking on the red button. So let's say vendor name Cameraman Inc. Vendor address, you can put it here. The project, you can select more than one project, because this way you will be able to manage which vendors are approved by the client and which ones your project can procure items from. So here we're going to put it for demo movie 1 video demo project, and then the discipline here is based on the discipline. So let's say it's indirect here because the thing. Then you can put in all the other information for the vendor, including the bank information for transit EFT payment for your vendors, and the GST, the WCB number. So just so we're clear here, the vendors applied for both actual vendors of goods and vendors of services, which also can be considered as subcontractors. So now, since I am a super user here, I can click create and create it without putting some of the information over here. And now I have the actual vendor, which is the Camera Man Inc. right here under DF International. And you will see all that as a list of vendors that you have. So if you have a vendor in your database that you would like to add on another project, it's very simple. You go in and you click edit for, let's say, Capping Bros. You just have to add here video demo project, and you're able to buy items on that project from that specific vendor. So now that we've created the vendor, the next item is vendor PO, SO, and contract, because you have to issue a PO, a service order, or a contract to the vendor. So here you have the list of all the vendor POs and service orders. So let's add one here in the red button. I'm going to choose our project again, which is demo video demo project. The vendor, as you can see, I can only see the two vendors that I approved them. So Camera Inc. Requisitioner is myself. Prover is myself here because that's an environment for demoing. The vendor PO contract number, that can be the actual vendor PO or a specific number, or that can be programmed accordingly as per your corporate needs. So I'm going to say Camera 0011. Tax rate, we're in Alberta, so it's 5%, can change depending on which province you are in Canada. And let's say it's today, or which is the acquisition date. The description, camera for the project. Contract type, we're buying a camera, it's lump sum, but also here that applies for any other contracts which are cost plus for subcontracts or other than stuff. So I'm going to put here as lump sum as one rate. The currency is Canadian dollars. And here you can drag and drop the actual quote from your uh, vendor. So I can click browse, and here's the quote from the vendor assigned in here, and I can click create, and now I have a PO that has been created within the system. So now that the PO is creating, as you can see here the details of the PO, which project, all the information, lump sum, Canadian dollar. However, it is $0, but you also have the quote here that is captured online, so you won't have to go and file and try to find documents in the file structure that in every project. That's a big issue that we have. So now you have to add items to your PO. So I click add an item. So item number 1, description, camera, Nikon, more other items. And then here you can start seeing the importance of the cost code. You have to choose a cost code from your specific project. So remember, we only created 4 cost codes when we were doing the demo in the module of project estimation, which is the third movie that we have. So let's say pipe materials, which doesn't make sense in that case, but that's for only items. And cost code budget quantity is 0 that we have here. So we did not put any budgeted quantities in that item. In that specific item, you also have the vendor reference. So let's say it's camera item X1345 from the actual catalog, and it's $1,000. Actually, that's the quantity, pardon me. So it's one each, and the dollar is $1,000 camera. So if it's billable or not, you can actually check it here. So let's say that's billable to the client. The markup is 8%, and the date is here. And we can put other comment camera for demo only. And then I create. And here, I already have one item. I can also edit it, I can delete it. You can add as many items as you want, but each item has a specific budget. Now I want to show you something here. Let's try another cost code. So camera 2, let's say. And then let's try a cost code that we actually had budgeted for. This is for only for labor. You can see the cost type here. So here it's labor. Let's put it equipment external. So it tells you here automatically that you're actually buying a, an equipment item under the cost type equipment cost external. So now you can choose it. You can choose it under labor, but it doesn't make any sense. So you can see that your budget in labor is 23,000 bucks. Your budget in equipment is $0. So how come you're buying something that's worth $1,000 when you don't have budget for it? So that's one of the intelligence that you can see within the system once you actually budget it correctly, how it will give you intelligence as you're spending the money of the project. It won't allow you to do uh, any additional cost or incur additional costs without understanding your budget and doing the correct change management process. So we're gonna close that. We're not gonna create that. And then at the end, you just have to click submit for approval, and it has been submitted for approval. The second you submit it for approval, it goes to the actual approver, which as you can see in that case, it's going to be me, but usually it will be the project manager or the procurement manager, depending on the roles you've created. We click on that, and I can see that there's a PO created by Michelle, and it's pending. So I can see it. Here I can see it's $1,000, so $1,050 with tax. It's one quantity for $1,000. Here, as you can see, this is the beauty of the intelligence and the quickness of the system. It generates a specific report that is live. That means that captures the cost to date on that specific cost code that I actually am using to buy that item to allow the person approving it to see if we have budget or not. So let's click on that. It downloads. I open it. Enable. And then I can see here that my budget quantity is 0. My actual budget man hour is 0. And my actual cost is 0. And I don't have budget basically. My total budgeted cost is 0, while I'm gonna be spending $1,000 on it because the vendor commitment is $1,000. So that will raise an alarm for me whether to approve it or disapprove that PO. And that example here is zeros, but sometimes if you had more commitments or you've already issued POs for a number of POs which you haven't incurred the cost yet, that commitment here will actually give you an indication that you might be overcommitted for the specific cost code, and would make you think twice before approving it or requesting additional funds from your corporation or from the client accordingly. So that is the for the vendor. So I'm for the sake of this project and this demo, I'm gonna just approve it. You can click approve, and now it's approved automatically. If you had a alert, because remember in project we created alert for every single project, if you had an alert stating that you're gonna be spending money over your specific budget, an email alert will go automatically, and you can also see them under alert messages here if you actually said that you're going to use that alert. So that's how you create a vendor PO. For the next module, we're going to discuss how to do the other sections of vendor.